Hey, Christoph here, and thanks so much for selecting me to do this reading for you. In this video, we're going to be doing a one question, 5 card tarot reading. Of course, this question is all about this house, and of course, you want to know when it's going to sell. Let's find out right now. Let's jump in to this reading. Here we go. Of course, my name is Christoph. I consider myself a guide, and my goal here is to read these cards as honestly and as accurately as I can in order to give you the information that you need to make those decisions necessary to move your life forward in a positive direction. Thanks so much for providing me with your name as well as your birth date. This will help me to connect to your energy even more. But let's find out what's going on with this and when this house is going to sell. The best way for me to answer a question about when is with something I call a timeline reading. And the way a timeline reading works, I'm going to pull 5 cards, but each card will represent a specific time frame, and we're going to see what happens by that time frame. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. All right. The first card here represents what's going to be happening with this house within the next 3 months. What's going to be happening with this house in the next 6 months, in the next 9 months, over the course of the next year. You know what? I'm not feeling this. I'm not feeling this. I think I'm setting the time frames way too far apart. I have a feeling that this house is going to sell sooner than the 9-month mark. Let me start this over. You know what? I'm going to put the time frame of this timeline reading a lot closer together. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. All right, let's try this again. The next month, okay? The next 3 months, the next 6 months, okay? The next 9 months, and the next year. Now, the way I was doing it before, we would have looked all the way to the 2-year mark, and you know what? This house is going to be gone. This house is going to be gone a lot sooner than that. So the way the timeline reading works is we look at the situation between you and your ex and this house, okay? So we're going to see if the house sells within the next month, 3 months, okay? Hopefully the house is gone before the 6-month mark. I really do hope that. But once we get a card here that identifies the house selling, then we see what happens after the house sells, okay? Between the two of you with your energy. All right, let's find out. Let's find out right now. Let's see how things are going to be with the house. And of course, you and your ex within 1 month from now, 30 days from now. And we have the moon. The moon represents dreams and fantasies. Well, the dreams and fantasy card, it doesn't represent dreams and fantasies being achieved, but it represents hoping for something good to happen. I don't think the house is going to sell within the next 30 days, but it definitely feels like both of you, which you're, and then in this card, you're represented by dogs, okay? Both of you, okay, are really focused on making the sale of this house happen. So I definitely feel like you really want this house sold. I feel like your ex really wants this house sold. The energy of this, both of you really just want to resolve everything and get it done so the two of you can move on. But let's see where things are going to be 3 months from now. Is that house going to be sold at the 3-month mark? This is the card I want to see the house sold on, to be honest with you. I want to see it, but I'm going to read this card as honestly and as accurately as I can. So if it doesn't say the house is sold by 3 months, I'm going to tell you the truth. And we have the 2 of Cups. The 2 of Cups represents a buyer, actually, which this is actually really good. Okay, so this is the 2 of Cups. This represents some sort of connection of balance. It represents some sort of deal being made, and it does represent an arrangement happening by the 3-month mark. So I do think that by the 3-month mark, you're going to find the buyer for the home, and it's just simply going to be a matter of figuring out logistics in regards to when things might happen. Okay, so as I was hoping for, yeah, it looks like you're going to find the right buyer within the next 3 months. Nothing's going to happen within the next 30 days, but within the next 3 months, you will find that buyer. Let's see where things are going to be 6 months after that. 6 months after that, okay, we do get some complications. So I do think that the house is going to sell, okay? But just because the house sells, it doesn't mean that things are going to get less complicated with you and your ex. I still feel like even 3 months after the house stuff, there's still going to be some complications at the 6-month mark. This card could also represent some complications with the sale of the house, which I hope that's not the case. We'll know for sure when we flip over the next card, but once all the cards are flipped over, I'll review everything again, okay? The next card that we have here represents where you're going to be in 9 months from now, and it's good. Really good energy 9 months from now. We got the Queen of Pentacles. The Queen of Pentacles here essentially represents you basically grabbing hold of new opportunity, you kind of feeling and bringing more loving energy into your life. I do think by the 9-month mark, you and your ex are going to be, everything's going to be sorted. Everything's going to be done. You're going to be feeling comfortable and you're going to be grabbing hold of new opportunities, which is great. And let's see where things are going to be 1 year from now for you. And 1 year from now, there's going to be new opportunities presenting itself. So this might mean you pursuing new opportunities, new relationships. So these last two cards are great. So do note that everything is going to be settled. You're going to be in a calm place within 9 months from now, worst case scenario, okay? And a year from now, you're going to be pursuing other opportunities that come along. But yeah, it seems like within the 3-month mark, maybe a little bit past the 3-month mark, because we do have the complication card here at the 6-month mark, okay? So probably between 3 months to 3 to 4 months, maybe 3 to 5 months. That's when things are going to be sorted. But I definitely think by the 3-month mark, you're going to find your buyer. Okay, I don't think that everything's going to be settled and done by the 3-month mark. That's why at the 6-month mark, we still see some complications, okay? But at least within that 3 to 6 month mark, I do think everything is going to be settled. I do think that you're going to resolve things. And by the time we get to that 9-month mark, you're going to be free. You're going to be pursuing other opportunities as we go from that 9-month to a year. So for me to 3 to 6 months, okay, that's the time frame that I'm giving for the selling of this house. I do think that you're probably going to find the buyer by the 3-month mark, but of course there's stuff that needs to be negotiated and figured out, so it'll probably be a little bit after that 3-month mark. Of course, you need time to move everything out, okay? I think that's what the complications here are all about. You know, this might not be a situation where the buyers are able to move in right away either, but it seems like you're going to find your buyers at the 3-month mark. And by the 9-month mark, everything will be settled between you and your ex, and you'll be free and on your own to pursue other opportunities. Okay? That's all I'm seeing here in these cards for you right now. Thanks so much for selecting me to do this reading for you. And of course, know that I'm here for you on Fiverr anytime. Thanks so much.